data for our foundational skills. So I had borrowed one of Miss Chelsea's students' data, and so I'm just going to go through how I looked at it and how I used this protocol to, especially since it was a foundational skill. But this was, of course, a first grade, and the very first thing on there was to analyze the task. What were students expected to do? And I literally just put exactly the assessments that they took. They had a word reading assessment. They had a story reading assessment that included comprehension, pseudo words. They had code diagnostic, and then if they scored low enough, I know they had to take a letter naming test. Then it says, what skills do they demonstrate? So on this part, I wanted to think about what the student actually did well. It's not always about, well, they messed up on this, they didn't know this. So sometimes we're always really quick to pull out the negative. So I wanted to pick out something. What did he do well? He recognized all of the tricky words that were on here. He got all of the tricky words, so that was something that he did well with. He also did well with decoding pseudo words. So even though they were nonsense words, he still did well with that. So those are just all things I noticed. And you know, I only had this one student, so it was easier for me just to look at this. So you may have to like look at your spreadsheet to help you see those. To look across that spreadsheet, that may be helpful. Then I got into the name it part. So what do you notice and wonder about the student performance? So I noticed this student, when he got to the digraphs, he really struggled with digraphs, and every time there was a B and D, he reversed it. So he had B and D reversals. He also mixed up vowels. He had some vowel confusion, especially with I and E. So I know with him, that's where I'm gonna need to focus too. So the wondering is, I'm wondering why he struggles so much with digraphs. That's the one thing that I was like, wow, he missed every one of those. So it also asks code knowledge gaps. That's where I'm going to get into the spelling correspondences that he actually missed. So I just jotted down the actual sounds he missed. And then I noted B and D reversal. He knew the sound once I told it to him, so I noticed that on there it had, he knew the sound after I said, no, that, remember that's a B. So it wasn't that he doesn't know the sound, he's just reversing them. So then I'm thinking, well, why did he struggle with digraphs so much? So when I pulled this, and when I look back at kindergarten, digraphs were in unit 7. So that tells me that's probably, that's toward the end of the year, and we had a lot of interruptions last year, so I'm thinking he's probably not had a lot of exposure to it. So maybe that's it. So I'm thinking, now, what are my next steps going to be to offer him support for this? So I don't want to guide too much into that, because I really want you to dig and find what your next steps might be. Just think about what you're getting to. How are we going to support it if it's not taught again, or is it in upcoming lessons? And when and how am I going to reassess? Okay, so those are things we're going to think about as we go through our data today. So I'm going to give you one of these, so if you just want to take one and pass it, and then I will give you a copy of the data protocol that you can follow as you analyze all of your student data today. So I'm going to let you start just digging in. And on the slides, when you do get to next steps, I did put some next steps like at the bottom of your grade level slide that you might want to maybe consider. And it just helped me when I was going through to jot down on that data protocol page.